USPAP 7-hour national update course. Chapter 4, Understanding Advisory Opinions and FAQs. Page 16, FAQ Examples.
And guidance that can be found there. What better place to start than with FAQ 1? Question. The new edition of USPAP became effective January 1st, 2020. I prepared an appraisal with an effective date in December 2019. However, my date of report was in January 2020. Which edition of USPAP applies? The 2018-19 edition or the 2020-21 edition? Appraisers must comply with the USPAP edition that is in effect as of the date of the report. The 2020-2021 edition applies because the date of the report was on or after January 1st, 2020. The effective date of the appraisal has no bearing on which edition of USPAP applies. This is a somewhat simplistic example, but it gets us off to a good start. When you think about it, this answer is simply a matter of common sense. For example, if you were to complete a retrospective appraisal on a property with an effective date of January 1st, 1980, you would have to comply with the requirements of the current edition of USPAP. For USPAP compliance purposes, the effective date does not matter, which is a good thing because USPAP did not exist in 1980.
Page 8, I'm going to go back and do some of the pages that I did yesterday.
Frequently asked questions, or FAQs, are similar to advisory opinions in that they are guidance. The difference, however, is while the advisory opinions cover one broader topic in depth, the FAQs focus on very narrow topics. The ASB issues the FAQs to respond to questions raised by appraisers and other stakeholders. FAQs are typically not exposed to the public before they are published. FAQs illustrate the applicability of USPAP in specific situations. The advice presented may not, and likely does not, represent the only possible solution to the issue discussed.
Page 9, how FAQs change. Because of the way the USPAP is promulgated, the FAQs change in various ways in each USPAP publication. The changes include, number 1, making necessary wording changes to existing FAQs as the result of changes adopted to USPAP. Number 2, adding new FAQs. Number 3, retiring FAQs. Number 4, renumbering the FAQs as the information changes. From edition to edition, most of the FAQs will remain unchanged. However, it is not uncommon for some FAQs to have their titles revised, their questions altered, or even their answers modified. And because they, as a group, undergo so many changes, it has been typical to expect the FAQs to be renumbered with each USPAP publication. Page 10. Understanding FAQs. In this section of the course, the Appraisal Foundation has 3 primary goals. Number 1, to help appraisers understand how FAQs are structured. Number 2, to help appraisers learn how an FAQ can change over time. And number 3, to help appraisers understand how the FAQs are organized by topic. This section of the course will prepare you for subsequent chapters when you learn how to find information in the USPAP publication. This process will very nearly mirror the process the ASB follows when it drafts FAQs. End of page. Page 11. How FAQs are organized. In the 2020 through 2022 USPAP publication, in all prior editions that included FAQs, the FAQs are organized in a specific way. Each belongs to one of the following categories. To help in finding the FAQ topic you are looking for, the categories appear in the same order in the USPAP publication. USPAP composition, structure, and compliance. Rules. Ethics rule dash conduct. Ethics rule dash management. Ethics rule dash confidentiality. Record keeping rule. Competency rule. Jurisdictional exemption rule. Appraisal development. Client issues. Appraisal dates. Scope of work issues. Extraordinary assumptions and hypothetical conditions. Subject property sales history. Appraisal reporting. Certification and signatures. Use and format issues. Appraisal review. Other services. Remember, the organization of the FAQs when it is time for you to search for guidance on a specific topic. There is also a table of contents in the USPAP publication that addresses the FAQs. End of page. Page 12. The structure of an FAQ. Each FAQ has several purposeful design components that make them FAQs. Each FAQ includes a very specific and highly focused question, focuses on a very narrow topic, presents one answer. However, remember that there may be other applicable answers as well. Can be open to interpretation. Provides an answer that likely cannot be applied equally across similar situations. Uses USPAP as the source for its answer. Does not create a requirement because it is only guidance. On the next page is one example of an FAQ to illustrate how they are structured. End of page. Page 13, example, FAQ number 277. The following is from the 2020 through 2022 USPAP publication. FAQ 277. Business entity signing an appraisal report. Question: can a business entity, such as a corporation, sign an appraisal report? Response: yes. There is no prohibition against an entity signing a transmittal letter on the page stating value conclusion of a report. However, USPAP does require that an individual appraiser sign certification Standards Rule 2-3B and C 4-3B. And C 8-3B and C and 10-3B and C all refer to an appraiser or a signing appraiser. Clearly, this individual or individuals, not a corporate or business entity. Please study this FAQ briefly, and we will discuss the research considerations on the next several pages. End of page. Page 14, research considerations. Before the Appraisal Standards Board releases any FAQ, such as the one on the previous page, its members will have considered and discussed it from many different angles. On the next page, you will find an example of the possible thought processes and research points members considered before they approved this FAQ for release. These are certainly not exhaustive. They are meant to prepare you for later in the course when you will need to figure out by asking yourself questions similar to those below how to find answers to specific USPAP related issues. End of page. Page 15. Research considerations continued. The information below is based on the 2020 through 2022 USPAP publication. What is the focus of the FAQ? It relates to USPAP requirements for signing something. However, the question and answer focus specifically on the certification statement. How the certification statement can be signed. It is important to note where the focus of the question is, because this then rules out needing to research and understand other USPAP requirements that are not related to signing or 2 signatures. Would this topic apply to all appraisal disciplines or only one? Appraisers in every discipline write appraisal reports that include a signature. Therefore, the answer will likely come from the reporting standards. Standards 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. In USPAP, what does it mean to sign? USPAP does not define sign. However, USPAP does have requirements related to the act of signing. These are both in the management section of the ethics rule and in the reporting standards. In USPAP, what does sign the report mean? When you search the USPAP publication for the phrase sign the report, you will find that USPAP does not have a requirement or a prohibition to sign a report. Does the USPAP publication ever use the phrase sign the report? When you search the USPAP publication for the phrase sign the report, the phrase does appear in guidance materials. While USPAP does not require an appraiser to sign a report, does it require anything to be signed? Because this action is done during the reporting process and not during the development process, we can look at standards 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 to see what requirements there are related to signing. Each of the 5 reporting standards has several requirements that use one of these words: sign, signs, signed, or signature. After reading all those requirements, the one that appears most relevant to our FAQ are the following 2 sentences, both of which are noted in all 5 of the reporting standards and which may be slightly reworded here. The content of appraisal report must include a signed certification. An appraiser who signs any part of the appraisal report, including a letter of transmittal, must also sign a certification. Who does USPAP require to sign a certification? Based on what is noted immediately above this question, it refers to an appraiser. This means the same thing as an individual. There may be other considerations that the Appraisal Standards Board members have when preparing to issue an FAQ. This is an example to prepare you to answer questions on this type in upcoming chapters. End of page. Quiz. This quiz has already been passed, so it is in review mode. You may take the quiz again. Only your first passing score counts toward your completion. Number 1. You are searching in the FAQs section of the USPAP publication for an FAQ on a particular topic related to appraisal reporting. Which of these is the best advice to help you find your FAQ? Show answers and start timer. Ready, set, go. A. Shorter FAQs appear first in the publication. B. The Appraisal Foundation's website has all the FAQs arranged in alphabetical order. C. The FAQs are arranged in the same order as the topics in USPAP. Or D. FAQs are a part of advisory opinions. Ah, shit, I ran out of time. Damn it. All right. You answered correctly, but not in time. So remember the question. You are searching in the FAQs section of the USPAP publication for an FAQ on a particular topic related to appraisal reporting. Which of the following of these is the best advice to help you find your FAQ? You said C. The FAQs are arranged in the same order as the topics in USPAP, which is correct, but you got to be faster because you weren't in time. Number 2. Which of these would be more narrowly focused? Ready, set, go. A, an advisory opinion. B, a USPAP standard. C, an FAQ. Or D, all of these would be equally narrow in focus. I'm going to go in FAQ. Good job. You answered correctly. So remember, which of these would be more narrowly focused? You said an FAQ, and that is correct. Number 3. An appraiser is referencing an FAQ in the USPAP publication to solve an appraisal problem. Which statement about the advice provided in the referenced FAQ is most correct? Ready, set, go. A. FAQs set forth new requirements that an appraiser must follow. B. The advice presented in the FAQ does not represent the only possible solution to the issue. C. Deviating from the advice provided in the FAQ will result in a USPAP violation. Or D. An appraiser cannot be accused of violating USPAP if they follow the advice in the FAQ. I'm going to go... Oh, I got it right. Holy shit. Okay, so remember, number 3. An appraiser is referencing an FAQ in the USPAP publication to solve an appraisal problem. Which statement about the advice provided in the referenced FAQ is most correct? You said B. The advice presented in the FAQ does not represent the only possible solution to the issue, and that is correct. Page 16, which we did at the beginning. This is now I'm caught up. FAQ examples. Let's look at some selected FAQs to see the type of advice and guidance that can be found there. What better place to start with FAQ number 1? Number 1, applicable edition of USPAP. Question. The new edition of USPAP became effective January 1st, 2020. I prepared an appraisal with an effective date in December of 2019. However, my date of report was in January 2020. which edition of USPAP applies? The 2018 through 2019 edition or the 2020 through 2021 edition? Response: appraisers must comply with the USPAP edition that is in effect as of the date of the report. The 2020 through 2021 edition applies because the date of the report was on or after January 1st, 2020. The effective date of the appraisal has no bearing on which edition of USPAP applies. This is a somewhat simplistic example, but it gets us off to a good start when you think about it. This answer is simply a matter of common sense. For example, if you were to complete a retrospective appraisal on a property with an effective date of January 1st, 1980, you would have to comply with the requirements of the current edition of USPAP. For USPAP compliance purposes, the effective date does not matter, which is a good thing because USPAP did not exist in 1980. End of page.